Gang, gang, gang.
House, motherfuckers breathing on my fucking neck and shit. Shit, goddamn Cody went fucking missing. I don't know where the fuck he at. I'm gonna look up in there. I'm not gonna look up in there.
Hey, y'all my neighbors. I'm talking about it.
Don't encourage this shit. Don't. Stop telling on my brother. Stop telling on my brother.
Niggas say bitches can deal with it.
You better fucking like it.
What happened?
What the fuck is my car?
Right side of the door.
Not letting me.
I appreciate it for coming though.
What happened? Oh, no. Come on, let's go. Come on, boys. Come on. Come on, boys. Come on, boys. Let's go. Quickly, quickly. Let's go.
In the car, go ahead.
Huh. Push the gas. Head the fuck home. Head to bed. Wake up in the morning. Just another day of school again. I just turned 16 years old too. Let's unlock this bitch. This buddy is a teenager, like I said before. He's a teenager and he has cancer. So yeah. Here we are at the crib. In the housing commission area. Walk the bitch. Head to bed, I guess. Five AM. Let's go out. Head to school. Unlock my car. Look it. What else should I watch?
Hey yo, we live. Hey yo,
Fuck
we live on
off.
Twitch right now.
Hey Ash,
Hunter, what happened?
nothing yet.
Why are you saying goodbye?
Because, you know, sometimes goodbyes are the only way.
No, there has to be another way. I want to say
There's
goodbye
not.
to you, Hunter.
That's just... Let's go.
Are you sure on your final moments you want to hang up that phone call?
It was Ash. Wait. The fuck? She was dead? Sheila's dead.
Hey, have you got some? Yeah, I have. What you looking for? 1,000 grams of heroin for my friend. Fair enough. Okay, follow me. I'll give you some up here. There's no cameras up here whatsoever. So, I'll give you some up here, dog. Cool, thanks. You're welcome, there'll be $1,000 too, bro. Done. Come on, quickly.
Look me in the end.
Here is heroin. Cool. Here is $1,000. Cool. I'll catch you later. Yeah, you too. It's nice business. Yeah. Is my car stolen? No, it's not good. Press play.
Probably time I join her then, I guess.
Wingman!
Hey, Wonder
Wingman!
Woman.
Wingman! What the fuck is happening?
A lot.
Where's Deluxe? We're here. Where is she? Is she?
It's all in the will.
Repossessed by the banks, she have an outstanding loan. Eventually die.
Oh, fuck.
It's her own issue. Check your emails.
I'll follow you.
Hey, good
Actually, I'm not. I can't. This is it. Can you do me a last favor? Just come see me in the corner.
Mate, you know. It's my game.
That's it, boys and girls.
Yo, call me later. caliber. So it's like different types of damage, but the same type of range.
Okay, so you're gonna be charged with the following. Initial charges are reckless evading, possession of stolen property, third degree.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Possession of fire class 1. Your new charges are that in addition to kidnapping of an employee.
Hi, do you have some?
I'm sorry.
Sure.
Please, sir. Okay, just for science, just for me and you, okay? I'll give you $100,000 if you pull your pad.
What's you after? 30 grams of cocaine. Cool. Follow me, I will give you it up here. Fair enough? There's no cameras up here, so yeah. Let's head up around the fucking, you know, around the tree area down there. Come on. Here is 40 grams of cocaine. Cool, here's $40. Thank you. It's nice doing business with you. See ya. See ya.
And look at anybody who's good. I have 1.1 million actually. Check my bank account. Do it. Drop me and check my bank account. Do it. Check my bank account. Check the bank account.
Okay, so possession applies next. The problem with the attempted murder of a government employee. When you opened fire with an automatic rifle in the hallway, you shot 2 cops at the floor that were.
Okay, relax. You want to match charge that? I'm giving you a dialogue so the city can have a little bit of better understanding of what's happening. So.
What? How is the city gonna benefit from you arguing your charges?
No, because it's an open dialogue. We're just talking. This helps both parties. You understanding certain things and me understanding certain things.
You can say power trip. Not guilty.
That you're. Range, there's. Anybody help me? What is it extortion, Ethan? Fucking out. It's like.
You pled not guilty, so there's nothing else.
Yeah, I should report this guy and move on.
Pardon me. fuck off.
Hey guys, I'm Evelyn, and boy do I have a grudge against my parents. You see, they have two daughters, my sister and myself, yet clearly they only love one of us, and obviously it ain't me. Mom and Dad have long considered me an unlucky child, and well, I guess that's kind of true. I'm not beautiful by any margin, and not even cute. My quick thinking also left much to be desired. For example, the neighbors' children were able to talk and recite poetry at the age of 3, and I was struggling with, basic speech. I guess that wasn't actually my fault. You see, my mom and dad worked day and night, and I was left with an old nanny who would watch TV for hours without saying a word. Therefore, I never really had someone to communicate with, and was largely left to fend for myself. As you may have already guessed, I wasn't a model student at school. Actually, the teachers often told me I was one of the worst students in my class. Well, I did manage to avoid corrective classes, so at least there's that. When I was 6, Dad started making some real money. Mom left work and became a housewife. I was so glad to receive some attention. Finally, but she was so disgusted and horrified. She discussed the situation with Dad, and together they decided to make another child. A replacement, essentially, so as not to repeat their previous mistakes with me. And that's how my younger sister was born. Of course, she immediately received all of my parents' attention. Barbara wasn't that beautiful. Yeah, okay, she was cute and she had a sweet smile. When my sister was 3, she was already a fast talker, easily recited complex poetry, and was never really shy to talk to adults, and became, once and for all, my parents' favorite child. As for me, well, my whole family ended up bailing on me. Of course, Mom and Dad weren't complete monsters. They fed me and bought me clothes and other necessities, yet they tried to pretend that I didn't exist. They even sent my old nanny to a PTA meeting because they didn't want to go there themselves. Of course, the nanny diligently passed on the teacher's complaints to my parents. She never liked me either. Once I got older, I realized that the only person capable of helping myself was myself. Of course, I really wanted my parents to love and respect me. So, I decided that I would start studying really hard. And that was not an easy task by any means, but at that point, I felt I had no other choice. So, I dove headfirst into my studies. I spent me as a complete disappointment. Barbara was just a normal kid, but our parents congratulated themselves on each and every one of her accomplishments. Well, yeah, okay, she wasn't ugly or stupid, but she wasn't that bright either. You see, Mom and Dad were always on her side since birth and always helped her. Guess that was really the only reason of her not ending up like me. When I was in high school, that's when I fully realized that, essentially, I had no parents or relatives to help me. Good thing I was already a model student, and studies no longer seemed to be such a big problem for me. So I got a side job and used that money to improve my appearance. Regular exercise made me slim and nice, albeit cheap. Clothes and makeup actually made me quite attractive. Of course, I wasn't a looker or anything, but I wasn't a dog face anymore, so that was something. Some guys even legitimately found me attractive, and 1 or 2 even wanted to date me. I, however, didn't want to devote time to relationships. I wanted to enter a nice college and wanted to finally become free of my parents once and for all. Now, I'm 20 years old, and I've got everything I could have ever dreamt for. I study at a nice university, and I also have a small but quite successful business. I even have a photo studio of my very own. Some of the experts that I know say that I'm a talented photographer. Also, I even tried my hand at modeling for a bit, and it turns out that I'm quite good at it. I've got money, a flat of my own, a nice car, and finally, that long-awaited freedom. I'm finally free to be myself and do what only I want to do. Unfortunately, my parents still think that I'm a disappointment. They sometimes call me and ask me for money. They never ask how I live or how I feel or if I have any problems to discuss or not. They never offer help or advice. They only want my money. Lately, though, they really went overboard. You see, Mom and Dad literally demanded that I make Barbara a free portfolio. My sister and their beloved daughter really wants to become a model, and they honestly told me, Evelyn, you're a loser anyway, so you can at least fulfill your sister's dreams. So since then, I stopped taking their calls. I gave up on the whole idea of making peace with my family. They wished to get rid of me when I was a kid. Yes, I'll fulfill their wishes on my own.
Hello all, I'm Karen, mom of Barbara and Evelyn. Unfortunately, my elder daughter turned out to be ungrateful and cut me out of her life. My husband and I had our first child when both of us were too young. We really needed to build a career, to make some real money, so we devoted all of our time to work. And when I was finally free to take care of our kid, it was already too late. Evelyn was a totally lost cause. An ugly, quiet, and plain dumb girl horrified me. So my husband and I decided that it was too late to try and fix the situation with Evelyn, and had another kid. Barbara was the daughter of our dreams. She turned out to be a vibrant, funny, cute kid who loved smiling and was always glad to see me. With Barbara, I finally realized how great it was to be a mom. I liked catering to my youngest daughter's wishes. I enjoyed watching her grow. I loved her smile and her stories about kindergarten and school. I allowed her to join a number of school clubs, did everything in my power so that she'd have a prosperous future. And as for Evelyn, well, we didn't send her to an orphanage. We gave her food and shelter. She could have not asked for more. Of course, we never showed our firstborn kid to my friends or my husband's business partners. Evelyn was not the kid you could be proud of. So when someone came to our home, we usually asked her to never leave the confines of her room. Well, nobody really liked Evelyn anyway, so it was all for her own good. Besides, everybody really liked Barbara. She studied well, grew up quite a looker, and was able to maintain any conversation. Barbara was our pride and joy. We've even made
You're a
special
bitch, you know that?
displays for all her diplomas and
She's a
achievements.
fucking bitch.
Then Evelyn grew up, moved out, and began spreading horrible rumors. She told everyone that we literally held her on a chain in the basement.
You most
Her
likely
childhood
did.
was never like this. She grew up as a normal girl with toys and clothes and books, and a room of her own, like every other kid. And
No.
all her failures were completely her fault. She was born ugly and dumb. What could we possibly do to change that? These rumors damaged our reputation. We worked a lot to be nice parents and nice neighbors, and Evelyn's words undermined our efforts.
Huh,
So we
good.
started answering those that doubted us that Eve was a very ungrateful kid. We did everything for her. We fed her and taught her, and now she repaid us with lies.
No, we already told her. You just admitted before. You were too fucking busy.
Some may say that it is wrong to take money from our own daughter. Still, we fed and clothed her when she was a kid, so she essentially just paid us back. Besides, Barbara needed nice clothes and new toys. Our little girl shouldn't be made to wait a lot. And then Barbara saw Evelyn on TV in some commercial. My little girl immediately decided that she wanted to become a professional model. So I called Evelyn and said that she should make Barbara a portfolio. After all, my little girl would be a much better model than Evelyn. Our eldest had no talent for modeling. You could tell that right away. She was a disgrace and a loser after all. Yet Evelyn disobeyed. She hung up on me and stopped taking my calls altogether. That's when I realized that Barbara was my only true daughter. We raised Evelyn like responsible parents, and she thanked us with rumors and lies. What an ungrateful kid! What do you think about Evelyn, her mother, and their conflict? Tell us your opinion in the comments.
You're the
Leave
bitch.
likes,
Your mother's
share
a
the video with
bitch.
your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.
You're a fucking bitch.
I'm Joan, and my parents abandoned me when I was 13 years old. Now I'm 18, and they want me back into the family. I'm completely at a loss, and I want to share my story with you. Maybe you'll help me decide what to do next. I had a completely average childhood. Definitely not the greatest, but not too bad either.
There wasn't much money in my family. We lived in a tiny house with just a couple of rooms and no backyard. Our neighborhood was one of those where you could see the sheets drying right in the yards, and old women rinsing their clothes in the ponds. Typical outskirts of a city, I'd say. There were also many other kids around to play with. We've got a large company where children of different ages ran along each other. The older ones were looking after the younger ones, while our parents were busy working. Mine, for example, packed drugs on an assembly line at a local pharmaceutical factory. The neighbor boy's mother, for example, worked on an assembly line at a candy factory, and sometimes she brought home bags full of substandard goods. We all envied him. The rest of us rarely got sweets, if only on holidays or as a reward for very good progress at school. As for me, my studies didn't go too well. Therefore, I received candy only on holidays. I never wondered whether my parents loved me or not. I was 100% sure they did. Even though they were always busy, they always found some time to play with me, tell me a fairy tale, or just watch television together if they were too tired. Well, I always tried to be a good daughter. I've done cooking and cleaning since I was 7, without the need for any reminders. I fondly remember my childhood to this very day. We were a happy family and really loved each other. That's why I still cannot understand the things that happened next. You see, on my 13th birthday, my parents gave me a very unusual gift. They sent me to a boarding school and seemingly forgot that I'd ever existed. That day, I came home from school hoping for a festive evening, and even a gift or two. Instead, there was a social worker waiting for me in front of our house. My parents packed all my belongings beforehand and didn't even say goodbye to me. They just discarded me like trash, and seemingly forgot about my very existence. The next few years turned into utter hell. The local children were actually okay. Yeah, I've got some problems, but managed to solve them quite quickly. I was never a sissy. I grew up in even worse general conditions as them. For example, I was shocked to discover that here they had 5 meals a day with fruits and sweets. I was able to blend in with the crowd without any difficulties, yet my heart was still broken, and I felt empty inside. Just imagine what my life looked like. I lived at home with my mom and dad who loved me, tried to be a good daughter, and helped them with everything. I wasn't capricious. I studied to the best of my abilities, but then my parents just disposed of me. How would you feel in my position? I came to a conclusion that it was me who'd done something wrong and made my parents disown me. In several years, I eventually started to consider myself a bad person, unworthy of love and parental affection. I decided to achieve everything by myself. I didn't want to deal with other people, since nobody wanted me anyway. Now everything I did was geared exclusively towards my own survival. I didn't even have friends, because people like me had no need for them. It was very hard, but despite all the shed tears and all the sleepless nights, I finally achieved success. I got everything I could ever want. I finished school with the highest scores, entered a high-ranking university with a scholarship to boot. I've even managed to get a dwelling of my own. Usually our government loans kids from boarding schools dorm rooms, and I managed to get a whole apartment for myself. It's small, sure, but it's all mine. I legally own it now. Now, I'm 19 years old. My studies continue, and I have very promising work. I'm a nurse in a medical unit. Girls don't usually do such work, but I'm okay with it. When I finish my education, I'll be a full-fledged surgeon. Furthermore, my local supervisors have already promised me an internship.
Which I've never
When
joined.
the local doctor retires, I'll take his place. In general, I've got a hold of my life. Everyone says that I'm too cruel with people sometimes. Well, my life was not too joyful either. I am who I am, and I don't care what the others say. And recently, my parents found me and suddenly requested for a meeting. For years, I've been trying to forget about them. For years, I've had nightmares where they abandoned me again and again. And now, when I finally managed to get a hold of my life, they showed up all of a sudden and asked for a meeting. Well, I'm a bitter girl, but not a sadistic one. Besides, I was really interested in what they would tell me, so I agreed, and as soon as we met, they began to cry and begged me to forgive them and return home. Such audacity. They threw me away themselves, and now they wanted to get me back? Naturally, I got up and left. I didn't even say anything to them, and now I'm forced to think about their actions once again. Why did they do this to me? I'm 100% not ready to forgive Mom and Dad, and I doubt I'd be able to understand them. But maybe I should have listened to what they were trying to tell me? What do you think?
Greetings, I'm Evelyn, and I'm Joan's mom. There have been many mistakes in my life, and now my husband and I pay for the worst one of them. We abandoned our daughter while she was still a kid, and she can't forgive us now. But we had very real reasons to do so. We've always been living in debt. We bought our small house with a mortgage from the factory, and we've been paying for the mortgage for years. Sometimes we hardly had money for food, but we still survived. You see, everyone in our neighborhood lived in approximately the same conditions, and all of us considered them the norm. Then we had a baby. Our daughter made our life more difficult, but it was still bearable. I gave birth to Joan late in life. I was already 37 at the time. Everyone said that it would be better for us to remain childless. Still, we were doing just fine. We managed to make some savings beforehand and even made a nice nursery for our girl. They say that children are the incarnation of joy, and Joan certainly was our greatest treasure. We really loved our girl. We gave everything to her, even to the point that me and my husband starved so that Joan would get some food. At night, I made new dresses for our daughter from my own clothes and my husband's shirts. It paid out. My little Joan was always the most fashionable kid at school. No one else had such outfits. Life became easier after we paid off the mortgage. We finally had some spare money and even managed to buy our girl a tablet. It was the cheapest one, but still good enough for reading and web surfing. Joan has always loved to read, and the tablet soon became her favorite toy. She studied well, always helped us around the house, and generally grew up as an extremely good girl. Neighbors always helped us around the house, and generally grew up as an extremely good girl. Neighbors always complained that their naughty children did not obey them and constantly demanded newfangled smartphones and other gadgets. And Joan was happy with her old tablet, and time after time she told us that she didn't need anything. She even sometimes suggested us to buy me new winter boots, or to buy Dad a warm jacket instead of buying her gifts. And then the trouble came. One of those that you wouldn't be able to predict. My husband fell ill and had to go to the hospital. We had the cheapest kind of insurance, so it didn't cover his treatment. You see, the illness wasn't connected with his job, so the insurance was of no use. I had to take a loan at high interest rates to pay for the treatment. Of course, we did not tell anything about it to Joan. My husband and I didn't want to bother our child with unnecessary information. So she knew that Dad was in the hospital, even went there with me several times to visit him and drew some pictures for him. But she knew nothing about our financial troubles. You see, she was only 12 at the moment. The problem was that we had no way to pay back this loan. We scarcely even managed to cover the interest costs, but couldn't do anything with the principal part. That's how we ended up in a money pit. I went to the bank, asked for an extension, begged, and even suggested to work for them to repay the loan. But they didn't even listen to me. The bank sold our debt to collectors and washed its hands of it. And the collectors turned out to be utter monsters. From the doorway, they began to threaten us. They knew our weak spot. They didn't promise to set our house on fire or crack down on my husband and me. The collectors said that we were to bring them twice the amount of our initial debt in a couple of months, or we wouldn't see Joan ever again. Their main man, who has such a nasty smile, told us that he knew everything about our family, even which school our daughter went to, and what time she usually remained at home alone. It was so easy for them to simply make her disappear without a trace. A nice incentive for unreliable borrowers, he said. Such news has almost made my husband and me ill again. We had a talk, cried a lot, and decided that our girl would never fall into the collector's clutches, especially because of our fault. And then we went to Child Services and gave up our parental rights. You see, we would never give up our child otherwise. She was everything we had dear, but there was no other choice. Either we gave her up, or those freaks would have taken her. So we chose the lesser of two evils, and as it turned out, it was the right choice. I went to that boarding school from time to time. I spied on Joan through the bars when she wasn't paying attention. That's how I knew my girl was doing well, maybe even better than at home. Over the years, she grew up strong and healthy. Of course, no money or food could be an adequate substitute to maternal care, but there was nothing else I could have done for her. As soon as Joan was taken away, we sold our house. My husband and I used the money to pay off the debt. The following years, we've literally lived in a cardboard box under the bridge. We ate from the garbage dump near the supermarket. A kind employee there always left us some food that was too damaged or rotten. We washed ourselves in a cafe nearby. We managed to keep our jobs, but didn't spend our salaries. Several times we had to buy some clothes so that they won't fire us, but that's all. Several years have passed, and we managed to buy the house back. And then my husband and I called our daughter and asked for a meeting. I don't blame Joan. I probably wouldn't listen to her if I were her.